Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com, joined once again by Zane Simon for the UFC 191 six-round post-fight show. Flyweight champion Demetrius Johnson utterly dismantled John Dodson in their rematch. Best flyweight of his era, no doubt. Best fighter of his era, that's the question. Zane, thoughts?
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, he's kind of in this Ronda Rousey position where he's just dominating all these guys. But unlike Rousey, he's not, or even to this point, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, he's not getting them out of there in a hurry. Like, he's not doing it in a way that's just like brilliant to watch. And, even like Chris Weidman over Vitor Belfort, where
it's pretty brilliant to watch if you know what you're watching and you're patient.
But it's good. I like it. I like watching him fight, and I think he's amazing. But after round 2, you knew he was winning by unanimous decision.
It was pretty clear by that point, yes. I mean, there was interest. I mean, when we were watching it, we were fascinated that Dodson was winning the wrestling battle and still getting completely depantsed. And Johnson's ability to phase shift, his footwork, the jabs, the combinations, amazing performance and entertaining. But yeah, it was pretty clear what was happening and where it was going. So,
I mean, I would even argue that what Johnson, with the wrestling battle too, what Johnson was doing there was showing Dodson a lot of early looks to get a read on his takedown defense. And then as Dodson got more tired, he just broke down his wrestling and started taking him down all the time because he knew exactly how he was going to defend each of the different takedown types and all that. And, he just had his number.
Yeah, he totally did, and he took it over and over again, just repeatedly. But very sweet performance. I felt like Dodson improved, although not dramatically, and showed some things he didn't show in the first fight. But he never landed the big shot that you were, that he was clearly hoping to land. And unlike the first fight where he hurt Johnson twice, never came close to hurting him in this one. Landed some good shots, but never had him staggered. And there were a couple times when Johnson had him maybe not staggered, but not quite rocking and rolling at full capacity. So, but, it is what it is. The rest of the card, however, was pretty entertaining. Arlovsky beats Frank Mir. Well, I wouldn't call it a classic, but it was a pretty entertaining fight. Some back and forth. They had there was moments where there was suspense because you didn't know who was going to win. And there were moments when there was suspense because you thought Arlovsky might be pulling one of his infamous Tim Sylvia style performances where he fails to pull the trigger, but he did ultimately pull it just enough.
Yeah, I mean, Roy Nelson apologized for it on Twitter after the fight, which I thought was pretty fantastic of him.
That guy is a world-class asshole. I love it. I love
he's actually like really awesome on Twitter, honestly. Yeah. And really usually pretty nice, but he was on Twitter apologizing for that fight after.
He knows how to troll people. Let's just put it that way.
He does. But it's just a weird thing. It's a weird statement of the heavyweight division right now. Like,
that's a relevant fight.
Yeah, and Arlovsky, it wasn't a pretty fight. It wasn't a fight where you're like, here's two young, fresh dudes getting after it, championship caliber all the way.
No.
But Arlovsky is a legit top 5 heavyweight in title contention. And that's the kind of fights he's having. Like, that is a top 5 heavyweights fight right there.
Yeah, both of these guys came into this fight having just knocked off what passes for young blood, hot talent in the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
And handily. Both guys utterly dismantled. Arlovsky took apart Travis Brown, and of course Frank Mir demolished Todd Duffy in a really fun fight, which this one wasn't. But Mir came out with a respectable performance. He hurt Arlovsky standing a couple times. He got him down, threatened some submissions, but Arlovsky showed he's still got excellent defensive wrestling, excellent defensive grappling, and is fast and dominant on the feet.
Yeah, I mean, Mir's ring craft has really honestly improved. It's just that, he was never sprightly, and he has lost a step.
Yes. Yes, a full step, a big
Yeah.
thundering heavyweight step. So yeah, it is what it is. But let's talk about Anthony Rumble Johnson demolishing Jimmy Manuwa.
Yeah.
I mean, what's to say? He beat the piss out of him. Other than taking time out to take him down and lay on top of him for most of the first round,
Man,
you
like
know,
I saw what was it? Oh, who? Just because I've been on Twitter obviously all night, and it was one of the other sites that
we don't mention the other sites. Come
we
on
didn't
now.
mention the other sites, but their article was like a woman in his way, Anthony Johnson.
Oh man. Oh, yeah. Some of the people I was watching it with were the kind of people who had been like very impressed with Johnson's recent performances and his demeanor in the ring because he's been a super gentleman in the cage lately.
Super
But
John. Did you like the moment apparently he got out of the cage? Apparently he went to press row. And he was like, "You bitches better write something nice about me."
was he yanking any yoga mats away? That's
So
yeah. He didn't bother with the niceties after this fight. He was just himself, and it was fun. I mean,
yeah, he's a good fighter. I mean,
yeah,
that's the truth. I
he's
mean,
really good at hurting people. I'm glad he's found an outlet for his abilities.
yeah,
A
and
legal outlet.
yeah, and unfortunately, Manoa, like, it's too bad because I do feel like Manoa is physically the equal of Rumble.
He looked like a much smaller man.
Well, but I mean, just in terms of like speed and all that kind of stuff.
Everything, everywhere except power and chin.
Yeah,
They were
power and
evenly
chin,
matched.
and that's and just he doesn't have that. Johnson still does have wrestling in his back pocket. He is a functional, good, solid wrestler.
Yeah, he really is. You can tell he's had years on the mat learning his wrestling craft, and Manoa clearly hasn't. They don't teach that kind of stuff in England, and it shows. Manoa might want to. I don't know. Do you think he should consider cutting down to middleweight, or is it just that Rumble is that big at light heavy?
No, Rumble's just that big, that wide. I mean, Manoa, and too, like middleweight. It's not like. I mean, light heavyweight is not a deep division full of killers that you cannot climb.
It's true. It's true.
He's fighting Anthony Johnson in like high up pay-per-view cards. At middleweight, he'd be fighting Rafael Natal on Fight Pass prelims.
And what a brutal fate I wouldn't want to wish on anybody. But let's talk about Corey Anderson. Completely snuffed Jan Blachowicz. I mean,
Yeah.
the first round was pretty even, but once Corey Anderson was like, I can take this guy down, and then he just stayed on top of him and beat the piss out of him for 2 full rounds.
Yeah, that's always. I mean, Jan Blachowicz. I said it in our previews and stuff like that. I just don't like the way he fights, and he's got this style that he honed by being the big fish in a small pond over in Poland, where he's a technically decent kickboxer but really low output, and then he has no wrestling game and a really he's a very willing grappler off his back. That was his big thing is go for the arm bar the moment his back hits the mat, go for the triangle, all that. And in the UFC, with guys who've wrestled a lot, guys who are big and strong and fit, I mean, Anderson is really like a 15-minute light heavyweight.
Oh yeah.
They don't fall into an arm bar off their back.
No, that just gets you out of position to take more of a beating.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. I mean, you rarely see judges give a 10-8 round in the UFC. You had 4 of them handed out, I believe. I believe all 3 judges gave out 10-8 rounds for the second and the third round. You never see that. And so one judge even had Blachowicz winning the first round, but everybody thought he got snuffed in the second and third. So pretty impressive performance from Corey Anderson. It wasn't a lot of fun to watch, but it was impressive. And then women's strawweight Paige Van Zandt opened the pay-per-view. Took her a little while to get going. Chambers had some pop in her gloves, which I wasn't expecting. But basically in the second and third round, it was all Paige Van Zandt. Submission armbar.
Yeah, I mean, she's a top 5 quality athletic talent with a developing game. I mean, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing somebody who is stronger and who can work harder and who can put more into the fight than most of her competition. And right now, and who's tough. And right now, that's getting her wins. And it will as long as she's fighting.
Get a title in this division currently.
No.
I mean, that will set her up for a brutal, savage ass whipping by Joanna Jędrzejczyk, should she get a title shot
Or
prematurely.
perhaps even Claudia Gadelha, and maybe even somebody like Jessica Aguilar. Frankly, I mean,
Maybe so.
some of the experienced, longtime vets up at the top of that division, they, they're good enough. They have enough technical tools to handle that. And especially the problem, like the thing that they kept saying all the time, like, oh, Jędrzejczyk, she's the crafty old vet if Van Zant has to face her. Jędrzejczyk has been a pro MMA fighter for 1 month longer than Paige Van Zant. So
well, she's not a babe in the woods like Paige Van Zant. I mean, very
she's
young
older,
woman.
and she did she did Muay Thai, but there's every reason, there's no reason to think that Joanne Calder would, or not Joanne Calder, but Joanna Jędrzejczyk won't be at the top of that division for exactly as long as Van Zant's in it.
Yeah, entirely so. And I don't see Paige Van Zant developing the striking game to hang with Jędrzejczyk. And
and she depends on the clinch, which is where Jędrzejczyk is best. I mean,
yeah. So, but it'll be fun watching Paige Van Zant work her way up to that shot, and then I really do actually dread seeing her just get shellacked. But let's move on to the beginning of the card, the 2 fights on Fight Pass. Joaquim Silva beat Nazareno Magaline in a lightweight fight that went to decision. Say no more. That's it. There's nothing to add to that. Okay, so Joe Riggs and then Ron Stallings at middleweight had the most fucked up, disaster, stinky fight. First off, Riggs looked ancient. He looked like 1,000 years old. I believe welterweight was where he fought last time. Now he's fighting middleweight, and he came in looking soft and bloated and old. For a 32-year-old, dude has a lot of miles on that body. And he got either poked or jabbed and hurt his eye early.
Jab. It was a jab. It was definitely not a poke.
And although didn't Riggs say it was a poke? I think Riggs said it was a poke.
They showed it. It was clearly a jab that nicked his eye.
And it's frequently hard to tell a jab from a poke if you're on the receiving end of it.
Yeah.
It just hurt your eye real bad. It came out of nowhere. But Riggs then hurt Stallings bad on the feet, dropped him, got on top of him, was beating the piss out of him with elbows. Stallings then lands an illegal up kick, a technicality illegal up kick, because Riggs had one knee down. I've always thought I think you should always be able to up kick. I don't think it's relevant what your opponent is doing. You should be able to up kick. But anyway, the rules is the rules. You can't up kick against a downed opponent, even if he's on top of you, beating the piss out of you. And Riggs used that point to say, my eye hurts, I can't continue. So he got the disqualification win in a frustrating situation, because if Dean had just warned him for it or docked a point and kept it going, Riggs probably would have got the stoppage in an honest way.
Yeah, it was a weird fight. It was. The weird thing is, and people especially don't realize this because they don't know who Stallings is, but he's only been fighting for 2 years less than Riggs. Like Stallings, it's not like Stallings hasn't been around the block forever, which may explain why he was on pretty equal footing in there.
Yeah.
But it was just a mess. I mean, Riggs is at the point, and he's had like 30 more fights than Stallings too. He's just at the point where shit's falling off him. It's just like every fight, win or lose, it's just like
it's like a man at the leopard colony. You just So
I expect him to leave like an ear in the ring after not even realize it.
Yes.
The ref just like picking it up after the fight, like throwing it out into the crowd.
Yeah. Anyway, so enough about Joe Riggs' sad fate. So the Fox Sports 1 opener featured Thiago Chator taking a split decision win over Clay Collard in a sloppy, shitty fight.
Yes, I'm really glad Clay Collard lost that fight, because technically he's terrible, and he's the kind of fighter that if he got a bunch of gift decisions, could like move up into weird main card status where you have to hear Joe Rogan talk about what a violent whirlwind he is.
Yes. So that was not a lot to say about that. But women's bantamweight, Raquel Pennington got a revenge against Jessica Andrade, who did come in on short notice, but still Pennington dominated that fight en route to a late second round submission. Only 2 seconds left in the round. She got the rear naked choke. Pennington, impressive. I mean, she put her up against the fence and clinched her and just beat the piss out of her.
I'm still not a fan of the rematch, because I don't like to see people like just get randomly booked in fights they already lost.
Yeah, but she showed, this was and now we can have a rubber match. Yeah, because this sets up Andrade to say, hey, I came in on short notice. I want a piece of this DMB. Again, give me another shot, and then hilarity ensues. Anyway, but moving on, bantamweight John Lineker, Francisco Rivera. How have we waited so long to talk about this fight? Easily the most fun of the evening. Complete insanity. Technically pretty terrible, honestly. I mean, it started out okay, but once Lineker cracked Rivera and they both turned into Leonard Garcia, except they were landing, it was fun, but not like technically anything.
Oh, it was fun as shit. Who cares?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. They were just wailing away, winging punches desperately. Leininger smelled blood, and finally it was when Rivera was hurt, went for the takedown, was getting it, and left his neck out there. Leininger dropped for the guillotine choke out the tap.
Yeah,
I mean, for the guy moving up to bantamweight.
This is not the hill to die on. If you're a technique junkie, you don't go to this fight and be like, "Oh, this is one of those fights that fans love and it's technically terrible." That's still, Collard Trator. That's the fight you can go to.
But fans didn't love that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to make contact with your wild violence for it actually to impress the fans.
But this is why I picked Lineker going in, and it's unfortunately, as much as I like Rivera, still a problem he has, which is that if you really put pressure on him, especially with a complicated boxing game where you're going to the body, going to the head, changing levels, he just kind of goes into panic mode. And that's absolutely what he did. And when he does that, his defense gets wide open. And Lineker's super comfortable in the pocket, just slugging away like that. He has no problems taking one to land two. And
those two will hurt you really bad. And that's what happened. So Lineker should be a force in the bantamweight division. Rivera is no joke. And so I'll be very interested to see where Lineker goes next. And then Ross Pearson and Paul Felder. After that crazy slobber knocker, I really did not engage with Ross Pearson and Paul Felder at all. It seemed like two guys techniquing around the cage for 3 rounds to no noticeable effect.
Well, I mean, really, it was like it was a fantastic performance for Ross Pearson in a fight that I think almost everyone, including myself, expected him to lose pretty badly.
Yes. I thought Pearson might be shot. I thought he might have lost several steps, but he seemed quick as ever, and he fought his game and won. I think it was the takedown that got him the judge's decision.
Well, and Paul Felder, what we've seen the more we see Paul Felder, the more obviously it is that he lacks some serious fundamental basic parts of his striking game. He doesn't have a great jab. He doesn't have a lot of really basic go-to boxing combinations. He's the kind of guy who will throw a lead elbow or a hook kick before he sits down on a jab. Yeah.
And don't forget the spinning shit. He'll unfurl tons of spinning shit.
And Pearson, usually he likes to sit in the pocket, and I was really worried that Felder would be able to crack him with something wild, with one of those elbows or with a spinning back fist or something as Pearson sat in the pocket. But this time he darted in, landed a shot, got right back out, went back in, slipped, landed a shot, back out, just did that all fight over and over.
He did not stand in front of the kid at all, and that was a big step for Pearson. So he gets the win, not a split decision win, not the most thrilling competition. So all we have to say is there anybody left for Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson?
They can throw Cejudo at him if they just want him to walk over warm bodies, but honestly, they should probably.
They need to build Cejudo up a little bit more.
Exactly. Cejudo can be a legit title contender in 2 years. You give Cejudo 2 years of fights, he can be a legit title contender.
I don't think they've got 2 years. I think he's got 2 fights tops.
Really? Why?
I really do. Just because they've got nobody else for Johnson to fight.
Oh, you mean 2 years that they'll give him? Yeah, no, I don't. I agree. I thought you meant he was going to be out of the
No,
UFC.
no. I just think for business reasons, there's no way they give Cejudo 2 years to build up. Also, I think Johnson would start calling him out because he could see what was coming. As dominant as Johnson's been, he's not going to have to watch a guy get better and better and better and better to the point where he's likely to beat him.
Yeah.
Although that's still an open question. I think even if Cejudo gets 2 years and is at an absolute peak, Johnson could easily figure out how to dismantle him.
Oh, sure. That would be when it would be a fight that would be big enough and interesting enough to really actually be something, something where I wouldn't be going in going, okay, well, Johnson's going to get a unanimous decision over this guy. I might actually be like, this is a serious fight I want to watch. In the meantime, if they could, and I would love to see them do it, they should just book him against TJ Dillashaw. That would be
fun. And that's a fight. Neither guy, unless Dominic Cruz gets healthy and comes back against Dillashaw, neither guy really has a compelling opponent out there. I mean, they could wring the Uriah Faber washcloth one last time, but yeah, nobody wants that. Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Frankly, as much shit as Cruz is talking and he's trying to build that fight, I have zero. At this point, I honestly have almost no interest in a Cruz Dillashaw fight.
But they're going to book it. I mean, Cruz is the UFC's boy, and also he looked great in his last fight.
He did, but his last fight, we're almost 2 years ago now again.
Yeah, that's true.
At some point, it's just it would be an act of God similar to Robbie Lawler winning the welterweight title if Cruz came back and beat.
Yeah, it really would be a feat. Last time Barao fought, when Dillashaw beat Barao the second time, I had literally forgot that Cruz had been out for Barao's whole reign as a champion, and that Barao put together a whole reign as a champion. It wasn't he had one defense here. No, he was like a legit champ. I forgot Dominic Cruz was a factor in the division completely. He's been gone so long. But so anyway, other than that Cruz fight, there's Rafael Assunção. Yeah. If he ever gets healthy, he's out there.
And nobody cares about Rafael Assunção.
Sadly, no.
Michael McDonald still wandering the wastes, doing who knows what, calling out MMA journalists.
Yeah. That was. Oh yeah. Anyway, nobody cares about that. So yeah, I mean, and there's nobody in the flyweight division at this point. I mean, I guess Jussier Formiga.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, he's nobody. I see Johnson finishing him actually, and pretty quickly. But that's about it. Yeah. That's they've still got John Leininger ranked at flyweight. He's in the top 10. Yeah,
he's unfortunately. I wish he. I mean, I'm glad he's at bantamweight because bantamweight needs people too.
Yeah.
But Leininger versus DJ would have been a shit ton of fun.
It would have been fun. It would have been really fun. Leininger's always dangerous, and that would have tested Johnson. But anyway, that's all we got. That's our show, UFC 191. Not next week, but September 27th, there will be Roy Nelson versus – who's Nelson fighting?
Josh Barnett.
Josh Barnett in Japan. So that will be a fun one, and we'll have all the fixes care.
Do we have another week off after this?
There's a Mayweather fight next week. So
but nobody cares about that one.
Yeah, not many for a Mayweather fight. No, it was a bizarre booking. It was like the fight nobody wanted to see, but Mayweather wanted to book it. So whatever. Anyway, but we'll be back next week with an If I Did It featuring Alexi Old and Eugene S. Robinson and myself talking about Mayweather and various PR problems, various and sundry PR problems involved with being a convicted criminal. And the most
if you made $300 million in one afternoon, what would you do?
Yes, exactly. Anyway, so we'll have all that. So stay tuned and remember to give us a like on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube. Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at @TheZaneSimon, @KidNate. Read us on BloodyElbow.com and Adios MMA Aficionados. Thanks, Zane. We'll see you next time.